Okay, hi guys. My name's Paul Mannion. I'm a family law lawyer, and we only represent dads. So I'm following a website, a Facebook page, Fathers' Rights Australia, and trying to answer some of the questions, provide some free advice for anyone that's interested. There's a couple of things that have come up, so there's a lot of similar points. And I thought I'd just go through a couple today, not spend too much time and not overwhelm anyone. Just some advice from someone that's doing this regularly. Okay, so relocation, that's been one that's popped up a couple of times. Relocation orders, orders where one party will choose to move. Usually in our circumstances, it's the mother that chooses to leave and move out of the area. So the issue that everyone needs to be aware of is that it's always focused on the child's best interests. So, for example, if the child is living with mum on a regular basis and it's in the child's best interest to relocate for the reasons that the mother has identified that'll benefit the child, then the court may very well consider that. If it's not in the child's best interest to reduce the time or contact with the father, which is often the case, then it may not be considered in the child's best interest. The other side of that is sometimes parents will be together for a long period of time or doing something, and then one may, for specific reasons, family support, services, or better lifestyle or better living arrangements, such as employment, may want to relocate. Now, they'll do one of two things. They'll either ask permission or later beg forgiveness. So asking permission is always in our favour, and that's preferably what we want, that they ask the court, and then it's a matter for the court whether they agree to it or not. Quite often, unfortunately, it's a matter where the mother has relocated and then lets the father know, I've gone and I've relocated. And then it's a recovery order, which is harder in some extent. And in fact, the best thing to do with the recovery order is act quickly, because the longer the child is away, established in sports or school or childcare, then the harder it is for dads to get the child to come back. Alternatively, it can be an amicable discussion and arrangement. Okay, you want to move to Queensland, for example, and we're in New South Wales. You want to move to Queensland. How am I going to see the child? What arrangements are you going to make so that the child has lots of time? So that's certainly possible, and it's certainly something that you could consider, especially if the grounds for the mum relocating are sufficient. It may be the case where the mother may be amenable to some sort of more arrangements. So all of the school holidays, for example, something like that, where it could be a possibility, rather than it being contentious and end up costing you a fortune in family law. What else about relocation? Okay, so again, it's not so much about what mum wants or what dad wants, it's specifically about what's in the best interest of the child. Is it in the best interest of the child to relocate? Now, I saw one come up where the mother wanted to leave and go to America. So, how on earth is that in the child's best interest to see dad once or twice a year from America? It's an argument that has to be made. And it either has to be made in mediation, which is always the short answer for fathers. Mediation is cheap, quick, easy, certainly cheap, quicker and easier than court. So mediation is the first point, unless they've gone. If they've gone, then it has to be an urgent application to court. And when I say urgent, I mean we've had fathers that have waited 6 months and the court says, well, too late. Kids in school, kids in childcare or whatever, and it's too late. Kids established. So child leaves, relocation, you can call legal aid. Legal aid will give you free advice over the phone. And so they may be able to provide you with some free legal advice over the phone to say, make an application. Okay, another one was some poor guy was talking about how he's lost the time with his child, from seeing his child every single day to seeing his child every second weekend. And unfortunately, that's the issue about separating from kids. And I think he mentioned that his child was 6 years old. So my studies have included child welfare, and they've also included a master's in counselling. And I can tell you what the research says in relation to child development. The formative years are really, really important. If you can establish a relationship in those first 7 years, and 6 years is pretty close, then you've got that foundation to maintain that relationship with your children for a really long time. The formative years are really important, and you can do that on a every second weekend basis. It turns into an argument, and I know there's got a lot of guys that are not going to agree with me, and that's understandable. And I think I mentioned in my last video that there's a lot of anger involved in this, and we really need to try and push that aside and understand the circumstances that we're dealt with and act on that. So every second weekend, you can turn the time that you're spending with your child into a quality time rather than quantity. So you're not seeing the child every day, but when you're seeing the child every second weekend, you're making those two or 3 days or 4 days, whatever you can score, as positive and really worthwhile time to spend with your child. I've said to a lot of guys, and it's almost cliche, and I don't mean it to be cliche, but sometimes in these circumstances, there's not much we can control except how we feel about things. And we can make that decision ourselves, whether we're going to remain angry and bitter or accept things the way they are and try and make the best of the circumstances you've got, especially when we're talking about court orders or when we're talking about separating from families. And we know that the court doesn't make orders of 50-50 anymore. So the presumption that shared care, 50-50, has now been removed from the family court, and they've identified that it's better for the child to have one primary carer and the other party spend other times, like every second weekend or half school holidays. So shared care can occur, but by consent. Basically, the family court says, in order to co-parent a child, you need to be able to co-parent. And if you have a dispute, then you can't co-parent effectively. And so that's why they're shifting to one carer having sole parental responsibility, maybe both parents making joint decisions, but one parent having sole parental responsibility for the best interest of the child. Okay, another one, just quickly, I don't like to spend too much time on these things because I'm not really good at it, so I don't want to stuff it up and then have to repeat everything. But anyway, another one is some guy said that his wife just left and he doesn't know where she is or what she's doing, and it's killing him. So call legal aid. Legal aid have the ability to try and intervene on an interim basis. They won't take matters on for a long term. They'll take matters on an interim basis and see if they can provide you some assistance in relation to arranging some sort of mediation as quickly as possible. If you generally don't know where your kids are, then it's an urgent application with court. And an urgent application would be a location order where the court can use the Commonwealth Government services, such as Centrelink, to find where the mother is and where the children is, and then make order for them to appear at court and go from there. But if you generally don't know where they've gone, then it's an urgent location order. So talk to someone straight away. You do have rights. Dads do have rights. I know that there's a lot of guys in this group that feel like it is all against them, and it is hard. There's no doubt about it. It is hard. But there are some shifts. If we both parties are just looking at what's best interest of the children, then there's a lot more room to get a successful outcome than just what's in my best interest. or if she's saying what's in her best interest. And sometimes what we think is in the best interest of the child is completely opposite. So that's the dilemma, and that's where the independent children's lawyer might come into it. All right, hope this helped a little bit. I'll have another look at questions on the Facebook page next week and maybe drop another one. All right, take care, guys.